Natalie is the current 2025 Professional Beauty Electrologist of the Year.
Started a long time ago when I think about it. So I qualified in 1989. When you become good at something, you then start to love it, you know, and that's what happened. And I think that's when I realised, wow, this is really meaningful, this is life-changing. And I think that's the other reason why I started to really love it, because you really were helping people.
Welcome to this edition of Beauty Business Matters. I'm Susan Routledge, your host, and today is yet another very special edition. We have Natalie Jackson with us, Natalie is the current 2025 Professional Beauty Electrologist of the Year, has NJ Skin Clinic, and it's just generally awesome in all that you do, aren't you?
Thank you. That's a lovely intro. I try my best.
Oh, yeah. I mean, the thing is that anyone who hasn't watched any of Natalie's Instagram, definitely worth doing, just to see the expertise in the work that she does. So anyone who doesn't know, Natalie specialises in advanced cosmetic procedures using advanced techniques in electrolysis. Yeah. So we are going to go into a lot more depth in that. Yeah. But I thought, and for me, it's really interesting because although now we know each other quite well, I still don't really know exactly how you got into all of this and everything. No. So where did it all start then, Natalie?
Gosh, it started a long time ago when I think about it. So I qualified in 1989. And at that time, it was beauty therapy where you had to qualify in electrolysis as well. Mm. And funnily enough, that was the part of the course I didn't actually like. If my headmistress could see me now, I think she'd laugh, because I remember plucking up the courage and going to her and saying, I don't want to do the electrolysis. That you know, I found that really difficult because I think I entered the industry to look after people and pamper people. And this was really hard to learn. And I was very naive and just thought I could have politely asked not to do it. But of course, this was BABTEC and ITEC, and the qualification included electrolysis. So obviously I persevered, qualified, and I actually fell in love with the profession, to be honest. When I walked into that school, you know, when you think, wow, this is what I want to do.
Was it a private education you did with it?
Yeah, it was a sort of more of an intensive course. Yeah. And I remember going along with my parents, and I'd been in a department store because when I left school, I remember the main thing I wanted to do was leave school. I wanted to work. Yeah, I didn't want to study anymore. And it was being in a department store for a couple of years that made me think, what do I really want to do? And that's when there was a beauty salon on the top floor, and I was fascinated. I thought, what do they do in there? Started looking into it, and then we visited the Cambridge School of Beauty Therapy, and it was a magical place. The standards were really high. I remember we used to starch our uniforms and have to have really white, clear, you know, shoes. And I really, really loved it. But yeah, funnily enough, not the electrolysis. But when I left, I got a job in a salon in Cambridge, and this salon specialised in electrolysis because our boss, she used to do it for the NHS in Adam Brooks Hospital. So these lovely clients never got enough treatment. You know, they were quite severe cases. So they would come to the salon, and basically you had to be good at electrolysis to work there. So it's really odd that I landed in a salon where that was so important. But my mentor, you know, my boss, was incredible. And she was a member of the BAIE, the association, and was very passionate. She watched me for about 3 months, even though I was qualified. She wanted really high standards. And I think when you become good at something, you then start to love it. you know, and that's what happened. And then I got to a stage where I'd see the column, and if it was full of electrolysis, I was happy. Yeah. So I think that's where it all started. It was a really good place to become really good. Yeah.
I think electrolysis is one of those things that I think a lot of it starts from when you're at college, but I mean, it's not necessarily part of the curriculum now, which is like, I think it's such a, you know, now we were just talking earlier on that it's becoming so popular again, I think, because when lasers first came out, it sort of took that away a little bit, but electrolysis is just becoming stronger and stronger.
Yeah.
But I think a lot leave college, and it depends on whether you've had someone teaching you as well who's really, really enthusiastic and loves it.
Yeah.
Because that, like, sort of
so important.
It sends that passion into you as well, doesn't it? And then when you leave, it's one of those things that I think a lot of people just want to leave behind,
and a lot of them do.
Yeah, but it's just such a skill now, and it's. I mean,
and once you've mastered it,
I used to do a lot in my clinic, and I did the institute exams as well. But as well, I used to work with vets. I used to do electrolysis on dogs' eyelashes and things. So there's all sorts of different areas that you can go down. And then obviously there's the ACP, the advanced cosmetic procedures. And I just love that. And then this is what I always love about our industry, that you can just take one element of it and make it your whole career, as you have.
Even more now, because I think years ago when I had my salon, if you'd have told me there could be salons just doing nails, just doing brows, or even electrolysis, I'd have thought, no, you need to offer, you know, but actually specializing, it's incredible. But I think the other thing I found quite addictive was the clients, the change in clients when you help them, because it just knocked their self-esteem. I had a 19-year-old who had a medical issue. I think it was a growth on her pituitary gland, and at 19 she had a full beard, and she was suicidal at one time. And I think that's when I realised, wow, this is really meaningful. This is life-changing. And I think that's the other reason why I started to really love it, because you really were helping people.
Yeah. So we've sort of jumped ahead a little bit, because where did the salon come from and how did that come about? So you were working for this lady who loved electrolysis. You did a lot there. They were working with the NHS as well, which is a great thing. But then, so how did that evolve into you having your own salon?
Yeah, it was more conditions in the salon. It was back in the day where I think, although she was a wonderful electrologist, it was all about profit. So our columns were rammed. And I think there was a particular day where I remember it so clearly. I had a facial in, good old cathiodermy. Do you remember those, Gino? And you left the mask on in those days for 10 minutes. Now I think you offer a lovely hand massage or something. You don't leave the client. But in those days, you left the client and you might have a clear up or a quick cup of tea or something. She put me in a full leg wax.
What?
In the 10 minutes.
10 minutes. Wow, that's awesome.
I remember, you know, the poor lady who had the leg wax, my head was down. I couldn't speak to her. I had to get it done as quick as possible. So she had a terrible treatment. And then the lady with the facial probably thought I'd completely forgotten about her. And I've always wanted to do everything to the best of my ability. That's just my personality. Want to give a really good treatment. And I gave 2 really bad treatments through no fault of my own. And it was that day, and I'd been there 2 years, I thought, I need to work for myself. I don't want to work like this. I want to, you know, I've always believed in high standards, and in a way that was taking that away from me. And then I think the same week I had a day where I chatted to my clients and I realized they were all from Ely. Mm-hmm. And you have that light bulb moment. There's no salon in Ely. There was literally in 1990, no salon. And I thought, wow, there's a gap in the market. And I remember being in the local paper and the title said, local woman finds gap in the market. It was hilarious. But so I started mobile because I knew I couldn't just, open a salon without, and
that's what I did too.
Oh, it's a brilliant way, isn't it?
It's a great way because the thing is that everyone's always like, oh, it'll never go here. And that's what I had in my town because I was the first in my town. And, the thing is, I used to think, yes, it will. Yes, it will.
Yes, it makes you more determined, doesn't it?
But being freelance, I think, just gives you that freedom to sort of test it all out as well, test the market.
And it built quickly because there wasn't anything. But I remember, I was only 21 and you just don't overthink and you're quite fearless. And I was just having my hair done in the hairdressers. And she said, Natalie, the first floor, you can have that if you want. You can rent above me. And I went, oh, okay then. No business plan, nothing, just okay. But actually, it was the best thing I ever did. And I remember the first day of business, I remember adding up what I'd done, and that covered that week's rent on day one because I'd done the groundwork. I'd been mobile. I'd got, clients. So I would never advise to open a salon without having some business, So that went from strength to strength and it grew. I ended up having a team of 4, which was a bit much for my inexperience in a way. Learned some lessons. I learned that saying.
Learned them fast, I should imagine.
Yeah, the biggest one, you're only as good as your worst therapist. Mm-hmm. So I did have a situation where, a therapist who realised beauty therapy wasn't for her, sort of caused some trouble and then left. And I had to pick up the pieces, but you get through it and you get stronger.
Yeah.
And on the whole, it was a wonderful experience. I had that for 11 years. Wow. I never thought I would sell, to be honest, but I started having my children and then there was a catalyst really. My eldest son got really sick and that's when your personal life comes into it. Happy ending. He recovered, but all of a sudden, my eldest child couldn't walk. So he was diagnosed with a hip disease, and I had a toddler and a baby, and my eldest child couldn't walk. And I remember we went to Addenbrooke's Hospital and we were issued with a wheelchair, and it was our world was falling apart. It was heartbreaking. He was in pain as well. And I still get a bit emotional now when I talk about it. And even the school run, I remember the hospital, gave me this wheelchair, which my son didn't want to get in. He was very proud. So I remember thinking, how do I do the school run? Because I had a baby and a toddler, but my eldest child couldn't walk. So it was really, really difficult. And I thought, I'm done with the salon. And I think I'd stepped back already.
Yeah.
Probably a bit too much because I'd had my family. And that was like the final straw. There's only so much stress, one person can take. So I thought, I need to be full-time mum because even the school was starting to call me and saying, you need to come in. There was no one to push his chair on school trips, even to the library and things like that. So trying to run a salon and have a big family. And I had my 4 children, they were under the age of 7.
Wow.
It was full on. And luckily one of my therapists, she'd got issues going on in her life and she needed a distraction and she was thrilled and said, I'll buy the salon off you.
Awesome.
So it sort of all worked out and I never regretted it, but it was also hard because I went from being the local salon owner to someone's mum, not even my name.
Yeah.
You're at the
all
school
about
gate.
The identity, isn't it? And I know I've spoken to people before about this. It's like it's your sense of purpose and
Yeah. So although it was the right thing to do, because we were in and out of hospital, I had, even younger children, and just the sheer worry of it all. He had a horrendous limp, and we were really worried. But but now I'm thrilled, because actually looking at what I'm doing now and being the specialist and actually employing staff, I found it hard to find really good therapists that would work, similar to me. I found that hard.
Yeah.
And
it's finding the time as well to do the training, to make them.
Yeah. And I
to be able to treat in your ways.
Yeah. Yeah. And I remember taking on a therapist that seemed wonderful, sent her on all the courses. And I think it was 10 days I had before I was going to go into labour. And she handed a notice in. There's things like that where you think. And I went into labour that night. And I had a diary full of, you're tested. I mean, the amount of people that will say to me, oh, you're lucky, you choose your holidays, your hours. And I think they have no idea the resilience you need.
Yes.
To keep going, and the behind the scenes, it's hard. I mean, it's wonderful. Yeah. I wouldn't want it any other way. But I did have 2 or 3 therapists that were brilliant, that stuck with me. That it worked out. And then my son made a full recovery. It was a long time. He was age 11 before he was discharged from the hospital, so it was tough.
A long journey.
But now he's running, he's actually super fit, and I think he doesn't sort of take for granted his health. It's made him very, very kind and caring as well towards anyone who's got any form of disability, because his was invisible, and people can be cruel, and sort of question. Yeah. But so we got through it. But so that's why, long story about why the salon.
And then from there, how long was it before you started to train in ACP?
So it was 5 years, full-time mum dealing with all of this. And then Jasmine came along, so I had 4 children. But then I was missing it. I think once you're a therapist, and it was actually at the school gate, other mums, because it was quite well known locally, were saying, Natalie, are you coming back into it? I want my nails doing, I want this doing. But I'd already wanted to specialise a bit and focus on the hair removal side. And that's when I looked into the ACP and started doing. And again, I was like, wow, this is incredible. Even more life-changing treatments. That was really in demand. There wasn't, a lot out there. And it even more so now with the NHS.
That's it. Because now that the NHS aren't treating anything that isn't life-threatening, really. Yeah. So anything that's bordering on cosmetic, then but
it's shocking sort of what comes to my door that would have been definitely treated by the NHS. I had a gentleman who couldn't walk on his verruca, but bless him, he was suffering with Parkinson's, and the GP said, you must walk every day. And he said, well, I can't. He'd got a really painful verruca. But even then, he was on his own, but luckily we managed to treat that for him and got him walking again. So it's surprising, even if people are uncomfortable or something's catching, or even if it's affecting their mental health. I've met people, had a young man who didn't want to leave the house. He was so self-conscious of xanthelasma on his eyes. And again, there's just no nuisance value. If it's benign, you're on your own, which is why, it's important.
So just for anyone listening or watching that doesn't know the extent of conditions that you can treat, and what we're talking about is with advanced electrolysis, so it's using diathermy heat. What are the extent of the conditions that you can treat?
Yeah, well, it's anything sort of viral, like warts, verrucas, filiform warts, which you can get on the face. And then it's things like pigmentation, seborrheic keratosis, melia, thread veins, or
Skin
blood
tags.
spots, skin tags, all that sort of thing, all the benign sort of annoying little things, but they can, like the cholesterol deposits, really knock someone's confidence. So sometimes it's something quite minor, and then other times it can be really impressive. You know, some of the keratosis I've removed on the face, that, you know, clients' demeanour they can be so self-conscious and really, you know, bothered, and then they come in like a different person.
Because the thing is, I think when someone has something that's to them quite deliberate, like sort of, you know, so that something that is really, really bothering them, and I think when they realise how easy it is for it to be removed, that's where I think the magic is, because they're like, oh
finding
God,
someone that's hard. Yeah. Because there aren't many of us that have done that advanced training or have the years of experience. And that's what I've found, the things coming to me now, because people are trying to find someone they can trust. Yeah.
But have you found that it's more since you won the award? Because obviously you won the award. It was the first year that there's ever been that award. And it was Gillian Huntley from Elite Probes who sponsored it. First time that it's ever been an award.
I was so thrilled when I saw that. I was jumping for joy at home, and it's not that I expected to win, but I said to my family, that's got my name on it. You know, that's all I do, and I'm really passionate about it. And I've always felt that there hasn't been a lot of recognition for electrolysis. And in my opinion, it's one of beauty's best kept secrets. You know, it's such a skill. So I was a bit like, finally, I've waited 30 years for this. So, I mean, I entered that award I didn't even really overthink my answers. It was just, but I think it's because I genuinely am so passionate about it. And of course, because I want to do things really, really well, I'd gone the extra mile in certain ways, like working with my dermatoscope, done all my training with that, and also the skin cancer training, because a lot of what I do, you have to be, your dermatology knowledge of lesions, you have to know what you must not touch. And this is where sometimes people underestimate, you know, skin lesions. You can have a lesion that looks safe, but I'll look through my dermatoscope and it will be a completely different story. And the more training I've done, the more I've realised actually without that, you're working slightly blind. Because there's quite a lot you can't see. And clients, it's very reassuring because you learn so much more about skin lesions when you work with one of those. And I can tell it's benign, but if I check with that in front of the clients, the trust.
It's just that reassurance, isn't it, kind of thing?
Yeah, that you really know what you're doing. And I don't touch things unless I'm 110% sure. And sometimes it will cost the client a little bit more because I want to check it, you know, maybe through my remote dermatology service, things like that. But they're always grateful that you're not taking risks.
It's just not worth it, is it?
No.
So how long, where did you originally train, and how long did you train for?
The original training, I went back to the Cambridge School of Beauty Therapy. They used to do extra courses, so it could be like reflexology, aromatherapy. I think I did that as well, actually. And then I saw thread veins and skin tags, and I thought, so that was back in 95, my original, you know, advanced electrolysis. And then I went to Sterex to do all the extra lesions, and the training, it was brilliant. So, but then it's like anything, you learn much more when you're back in your clinic, you know, with your clients, because what actually comes through your door is often more complicated. Or especially now since I've won the award, I think I get clients with more complex issues. You know, sometimes they're lesions that are colliding and you've got to think, wow, what have we got here? We've got two. So you've really got to know your techniques and your knowledge on you know, it's not textbook. It's in real life, it's more complicated.
And how do you market that? Or is it just now mainly word of mouth?
I started just making sure that's all I spoke about online. So even when I was doing the hair removal, I would only post about the skin lesions. I'm a real believer on the power of focus. And if you focus on that and that's all you start to demonstrate, that's your skill set. Because I think being clear on that is so important.
Yeah.
And I see practitioners, lots of practitioners reach out, especially since the award, and they say, how do you get so much work? How are you busy every week with the advanced work? And it is because I'm seen as the expert, because that's all I talk about.
Yeah.
And I have dropped the lower sort of price point treatments, because I think it's really hard for a client if 1 minute you're doing an eyebrow shape or a manicure, how can you then be seen as that clinical specialist, you know, with your next appointment? And I think it's important to actually stop. It's nearly like promoting yourself. So I'm now seen more as a clinical practitioner, because I don't do any of the beauty therapy now. And that sort of elevates your, you know, and creates more trust.
Yeah. But this is it. I mean, the thing is the level that you've got to, but I mean, that is through sheer hard work as well. I mean,
learning on the job.
Yeah. You never stop learning. You never stop advancing, never stop. And, you know, and I always like think that there's always something new to learn.
Yeah.
And, you know, so how far do you find clients are travelling now to come to you?
Well, I had one chap, it was a 4-hour round trip. And I do ask, you know, I look and say, wow, what made you come all that way? And his words were, I saw that's all you do.
Yeah.
And that's when I realised, wow, specialising, it's like a secret power, really. It's scary to do. And a lot of people are very worried about letting clients down that they've been treating for 20 years, but you can't live your life for other people, and they get over it quicker than you think. And what I would do is always have a name and a number and say, I won't be doing this anymore, but I know this lovely therapist, and they get over it, because otherwise you know, and from a financial point of view, it's crazy to do a £30 treatment, whereas you could be doing a treatment for £150.
Yeah.
But for your whole image, it's just confusing.
Yeah.
People are going to think, are you a therapist or are you an advanced practitioner? It has to be clear in my mind what your know, expertise is.
Definitely. And I think this is the thing with, like, you know, you touched on it earlier on, and this is what I do love about our industry, the fact that, you know, that we learn so many different things. Yeah. But then you can just take that one element and just make it like your whole career.
Yeah.
And the more that, you know, the more someone is an expert and can be seen as an expert in that area, then price just goes out the window, because someone
values that,
wants to be with an expert.
Yeah.
And you know, as I say, you've done it beautifully. Do you find now that you work a lot alongside sort of GPs and things?
So referrals come in. Yeah, I had a GP surgery not long ago send me a client, and I did a post. I think that was a nurse, and my doctor's since retired, but she used to send people my way. I think sometimes they're not allowed, but I think I'm just generally a little bit known now. You know, I'll get in the local little magazine and things like that. But yeah, so that does, because again, it must be hard for a GP and the nurses, where they say, yeah, that's benign, that's fine, but it's uncomfortable. you know, and so it must be nice to say, oh, actually, you know, you could get that seen too.
Because the dermatology department, although they still do some things, the wait lists are so long now.
And actually the Map My Mole and the remote dermatology, that's really helping, because now the GP isn't referring as much benign lesions, which still takes up time, because we can get the all clear, you know, without going...
Within 48 hours normally.
Yeah, and you can bypass the GP and the dermatologist, which is brilliant. And I have found quite a few skin cancers. You know, I've done a lot of study on that, so that... And I never diagnose, you know, but, you know, when you see something and you think, no, that really needs checking. But clients are really, really grateful. You know, and then they go off with their report and they're sort of fast-tracked because it's a dermatologist that's written on there that what they think it is.
So originally for the skin cancer early detection, did you do the mask training with the skin charity?
Yes, I did. I did the basic one for therapists, but I've done the medical one.
Yeah.
And that one is really in depth. And the questions, you know, and it's brilliant. Yeah, and to do that every year, it just keeps it fresh in your mind what to look out for, because I think it's all on the rise. You know, I'm definitely finding more. Maybe it's my line of work as well. You know,
I think you know, and it's one of those things that I think there's this misconception of like skin cancers where, you know, someone can just get it cut out. Don't realise how severe.
Oh, yeah. And the margins have to be cut out. So you can be looking at quite a big scar. So the earlier things are caught, the better. And sometimes it is the minor, tiny little pink mark, you know. So catching it early is really, really good. But that's growing in the clinic. People coming to me to get skin lesions checked. And sometimes I can do my check and say, I'm not worried. But if they're worried and they want a dermatologist to say it's fine, I had that with a client not long ago. She had a melanoma in the past, so I completely understand why she wanted it checked. And it was fine, and we were able to then treat it. But I love having that facility because it's nearly like a medical service now that you can give people that checkup.
Yeah, we have it in my clinic as well.
Yeah,
you know,
brilliant.
So basically, I mean, say you've taken those really in-depth photographs, and that goes straight off to a dermatology department.
And the history, which is so important as well.
And then the report that comes. I mean, we've had clients who just simply through getting that, it's fast-tracked them through to getting skin cancers.
It's incredible. Yeah, I love that.
When they've been trying to get an appointment with a GP and things, it's just sometimes virtually impossible.
I think we had a shortage in the UK before COVID of dermatologists. So after COVID, then it's a long wait. So it's a wonderful service.
So what are your? I know we're working together on some special things that you're going to be bringing in the future. Because I know as well, you're now becoming quite known just for people asking your advice and everything like that. And other professionals as well.
Yeah, that surprised me actually after the award. It's wonderful recognition for your clients, but it's the other practitioners, my phone. And, you know, every night I'm sort of giving advice and and I love doing that because I do want to keep the standards really high. I do believe we all benefit if we work to really high standards and the general public as well. So I don't mind, you know, helping out because I do think that the courses, for the level of what we do, coming out after a 2-day course, it's not really long enough. Because what you do in clinic is always harder. You get clients like with complex health issues, or they'll get their medication list out and they're on 10 different medications. Well, you don't learn that, so there's so much to learn in clinic, and that's going back to specializing. I've realized that I've learned more and more because you get extra practice. So I'm a firm believer if what you do a lot is what you become really good at. So I've improved just by dropping everything else.
But this is the thing, though, because I think when you've got someone with your level of experience, and there's maybe only a few others in the UK who've been doing it as long.
Yeah, that's true.
That does make it where you've practically seen everything. Yeah. Even though there are still things that
there's still things that come to the clinic that surprise me.
But it does get to the point where you've probably covered most things that someone newer in the industry is coming up against and thinking, oh my goodness. Because it's this is the thing, you don't know until you've got that person in front of you exactly what you are treating.
And you start to learn your own techniques of how to keep people safe. When I'm working on, say, a diabetic client or a melanin-rich skin, I've learned ways to keep that, because what really is important to me is keeping the skin really flawless if I can. We talk about the footprint. So when I see things online and practitioners are working really fast, or maybe with a current that's a little bit too high, I always take my time, because I don't want that big wound. For those situations, you want the smallest wound possible, because then you're going to get a flawless result. And I've sort of learned many, of my own techniques where I've thought, wow, that's worked. That's brilliant. So, yes, I'm full of, my ambition doesn't seem to, with
I know, that's what I love about you, though, Natalie.
Years in, and I think my children are a bit like, are you going to calm down? But I'm full of ideas and full of ambition, especially now, because I think now I've really found my purpose.
Yeah, you're in your flow now.
Yeah, they say when you become good at something, you find your passion.
Yeah.
When you use that to help people, you found your purpose. And I think that's where I'm at. So, well, it's exciting. We'll see what, but I'd love to be able to somehow help other practitioners and raise standards, keep everybody safe. Yeah.
So I think for now, just be a case of anyone to watch your Instagram. That's where you mainly are, isn't it? On Instagram.
Is, yeah. It seems to be the platform that gets the most interaction.
And what is your address on there?
So it's NJ Skin Clinic. Yeah.
Right, yeah. And then I'd say from there, it's just a case of watch this space.
Yes.
So we'll put the link in the show notes for your Instagram, and anything else as well that we can entice anyone to. Because the thing is, following what you're doing is just so inspirational.
Oh, nice. Thank you.
I just love all that you're doing and your passion and how you're taking the industry forward.
Thank you.
So thank you so much, Natalie, for all of your time.
Thank you for having me.
You've been awesome. Thank you.
Good.